In case you missed it, here's Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week. And now it's time for...
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's random.
Is that a fact?
Is that a fact?
4 random facts.
Celebrating a very tasty, sugary day today, Paczki Day. Did you know Paczki is actually the plural form of ponchek? So if you have one of them in your hand, it's actually called a ponchek.
So if you're asking someone if they want a Paczki, you're asking if they want multiple
Right.
donuts.
To which I would say yes. Yes, please.
And you would just be like, which flavor?
Yeah.
Multiple flavors.
It's not prune, then it's good for me, and I'll have one. Thank you very much.
So the Paczki actually dates back to the Middle Ages. They used to apparently fill them with pork fat, and they fried them in lard.
Not that what you have today is very healthy at all, but that just seems like that's going a little bit too far.
I mean, savory Paczkis, maybe that's the next frontier.
Plus, it's a harder sell if hey, would you like this huge donut with pork fat and fried in lard?
I mean, if it had bacon in it, I think I'd be on board.
No, right now you're speaking my language. Traditionally, the reason for making a Paczki was to use up all of the lard and the sugar and the eggs and the fruit fillings that you have in the house because they were forbidden to be consumed due to Catholic fasting practices during Lent. So you had to use all of this stuff up by today. And that's how it was kind of formed.
So you're not supposed to eat lard, sugar, eggs, or fruit during Lent?
Can't be happy. No.
Nope. And finally, how many calories does a Paczki pack?
I don't want to think about it.
Between 400 and 500 calories, which, I mean, is way more than a regular donut. But
so.
They have about 25 grams of fat.
See,
I'm pretty sure that's your fat intake for the whole day right there.
Not that you really, after eating one or two of these, not that you really want to eat more of anything after you have one. You just passed out on the couch all day.
Today's
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
So random.
Random.
Give the public the facts.
4 random facts.
We'll be doing spring cleaning before too long. We're only about, I think it's a month from today, the first day of spring, which is fantastic. So spring cleaning will happen. We're surveying the outside. We didn't do much of the inside. There's a lot of spring cleaning to do inside as well.
Oh, always. And we actually have a list of 5 things to not forget when you're doing your spring cleaning. So, as you're going through the house, there's all those typical things, cleaning out cupboards and, closets, that kind of thing. But here's 5 things that you shouldn't forget about cleaning, like your shower head in the bathroom.
You just don't think about it.
No, but it's pretty easy to clean. They say to soak it in a vinegar solution and then use a brush on it, like a gentle brush, maybe an old toothbrush to kind of scrub away some of the mold and minerals. And if it doesn't detach, what you can do is you can actually fill up a Ziploc bag with it and then tie it on with an elastic band, leave it there for, an hour or so, and then come back, and it'll be a lot easier. Let it soak in.
So think about your shower head at least once a year. How about your kitchen? I do not want to see what the top of the refrigerator is like. There's a few boxes of cereal up there, and who knows what else. But yeah, the top of your refrigerator is something that we just kind of forget about because a lot of people just aren't tall enough to see what's up there.
Nope.
But get on a stool, check it out. It's probably not something you want to look at, but you should clean it up.
Especially before you invite, a 7-footer over, someone who's 7 feet tall to your house.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're going to see all the dirty spots up top.
Our fridge is kind of encased. It's like in its own little nook, right?
Yeah, and are there cupboards over it?
No, it's tall enough. It goes right up to the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
But it's in its own little nook. So when we get new appliances and that fridge comes out of there, I'm going to have nightmares. It's been there a long time.
You can roll them out. I mean, you should probably vacuum the coils in the back.
Yeah, probably.
Take some of the dust out. Because then it'll work more efficiently.
I just don't want to. I'm scared.
Another spot that you shouldn't forget about cleaning is under your couch cushions. Mm-hmm. You should be vacuuming under there every now and then.
As the kids have gotten older, it's been a little bit better. But when they were, babies and toddlers and stuff, there was so much stuff in the couch cushions, like cereal and, the pets too. Pet hair like crazy. So, yeah. Living room, take care of your couch cushions and find out what's under there. Bedroom, how about the drawer pulls on your dresser and your nightstand? We touch them every day, opening and shutting the drawers, but they're covered in schmutz in your bacteria. So
it's like a door handle. You think about cleaning the door handles, but
so wipe them down in your bedroom.
And finally, the last thing you shouldn't forget about cleaning is your houseplants.
I've never thought of that before.
Well, if you think about it, like I have some of those snake plants. They collect dust like any other surface. So they say, just every once in a while, take like a dry cloth and just gently wipe the dust off of it, because the dust can actually, block sunlight and affect their health.
So wipe them down a little bit. Yeah. We had a taste of spring this weekend, getting the itch to get out there and doing some spring cleaning. There's some tips for you.
If you get away with a crime, maybe don't go online and record a video bragging about it.
But that's what this guy down in Texas did. He took to YouTube to brag about how he successfully fleed a state trooper, but it backfired on him when they caught him, and he's now facing felony charges.
So, y'all, I got away. It's just a car that I drive just to get around so the police won't pull me in.
That places lives at risk needlessly, and he had a cavalier attitude about it.
And by the way, initially pulled over for just a temporary tag, so probably wouldn't have been much in the way of a fine.
They might have just let him off with a warning of, hey, make sure you go and get the permanent one if it's not in yet.
But ended up taking off, high-speed chase, got away, and then bragged about it online afterwards. A 20-year-old man by the name of James, he was arrested in Chicago for armed robbery. He allegedly pulled a gun on a 35-year-old man who was arriving home and demanded he hand everything over. Gave him his keys, little money he had, and also a takeout bag of fried chicken. Well, rather than run, James opened up the victim's car, sat inside, and began eating the chicken right there.
So, of course, the victim called 911. And cops arrived within a few minutes and arrested James, who was still just sitting in the car eating the fried chicken.
And he is now facing multiple felonies because of gun involved and all of that.
Like, was the chicken just that good, or was he just that hungry?
Bit of both. Hey, there's an inmate in Bolivia. His name is Jose Diaz, who's serving a 15-year sentence for murder. And he goes by a nickname which translates to the Spider. Well, earlier this month, he was busted for trying to escape, but not as a spider.
No, he disguised himself as a sheep. A sheep. So here's what he did. He wrapped himself up in sheepskin, got down on all fours, managed to crawl past security, past a wall, and out into the grass that surrounds the jail. And he did this all in the middle of the night. Now, prison authorities had no idea he had escaped until they noticed he was missing from his cell the next day, and they started searching for him. Well, that's when one of the security guards noticed a bit of a strange sheep out in the field. They went out to investigate. Turns out it was Jose. So they arrested him again and put him back behind bars.
That's what he sounded like when he was trying to get away. They blamed it on the bad weather, by the way. Now, there was, in their defense, a storm that night, so I don't know if that contributed to them not really being able to differentiate between this guy and actual sheep.
How do you get out of this, get through security in the first place? Well, you think they'd be like, why is there a sheep inside the prison?
I'm sure a full investigation is underway. Day weekend, we went to Newmarket, had a great visit with our daughter and her other half and the grandkids. But I went to my grandson's practice with my son-in-law on Saturday morning. First thing I noticed, his gas light was on. And I was like, I guess you're going to be hitting up a gas station because you've got 20 kilometers left. He goes, no. He says, we'll be fine. She likes to go to a specific gas station and save some money, and she's got a card and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So we got back, and it was, around 16 kilometers. So then we went out again, jumped in my daughter's car because I assumed she was getting gas. Mm-hmm. And we had a couple of things to run around to do. And it was down to 14 kilometers. And I'm like, okay, you need to pull over because this is giving me anxiety. And I actually put $20 into her tank just to bring it up. And it brought it over 100 kilometers or to 100 kilometers. And then she took a photo later because she was out running around with her mom. And she said, does this give you anxiety? Because the fuel light came back on. But it's still at 75 kilometers. I said, no, that doesn't, the fuel light being on, it's the fact that you drained it down to 14 kilometers or 13, I think, by the time we actually got the gas. It actually gave me anxiety. And I'm like, who are you? I raised you better than this. You grew up in Northern Ontario. You know better. You let it get down that low, you can get, crystals in your gas line. And I don't know, maybe it's because growing up there, my dad beat it into my head. Never let it go below a quarter of a tank.
Well, especially with an impending storm or the freezing rain that we were getting yesterday. I always worry about that if, you slide off the road into the ditch, you're stuck there waiting for a tow truck. And if it's a really busy storm, you might be there for a while. At least if you can keep the car running, you're going to stay warm. But not if you only have, like, literally fumes of gas left.
Our
in the
youngest
tank.
came up too, and she said, "I'm so glad you did that because I didn't want to say anything because it was giving me anxiety in the back seat."
So you raised her right. You raised your youngest right, but your oldest did not learn.
No, our middle one, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. So we thought, okay, have you ever run out of gas? I've never let it go too low. Now, I will say this. I thought of a story yesterday because we posted this about did you run out of gas. Once when my wife was doing travel nursing, we went out to visit her out in Nova Scotia and flew into Halifax, drove all the way down to Yarmouth, which is the whole province, and then a hurricane hit, right? We didn't know. I mean, it was my...
You had booked it like a month in advance.
Yes. So anyway, on the way back, I was like, well... No, none of the gas stations were open in Yarmouth at that point because the hurricane had gone by. I thought at some point, surely there'll be a gas station. I got to the airport with between quarter and empty, like it was verging on empty, and there was an Irving gas station that was open right by the airport, so I could fill up because...
And you were starting to panic, weren't you?
You bring it back empty to those rental places.
No, you're supposed to bring it back to the same level
which
you
was
got
full
it at.
when I got it. So I would have had to sell one of my kidneys in the parking lot at the airport now.
Because then we charge you way more.
Oh, my God. So we posted this asking, it's wild to me that so many people have run out of gas.
Yeah, Nancy said, my mom ran out of gas directly in front of a yard sale. The owner was so nice, she sent her son to the gas station to bring us back some and then wouldn't accept anything but a thank you.
Well, you can give us a call at 519-351-6300 if you've got a story, especially to go along with it, or a text and let us know, have you ever run out of gas? Sam said, never run out of gas. My lowest my car got was 220 kilometers. Thankfully, wasn't too far from the Shell gas station in Ridgetown. She was able to gas up there.
Karen says, yep, repeatedly runs out of gas. She says, I'm too busy to get gas, LOL. And Janet agreed with her and said, I thought I was the only one who felt too busy to stop for gas.
Yeah, but gas makes your car go. No gas, no go. And it doesn't matter how busy you are. You don't go.
These are, I would say, the Karen and Janet, you are the people who are always, you say you're on your way when you're still in the house getting ready to leave.
Yeah, and then
you're always perpetually behind.
Yeah, and they got to stop to get gas on the way over. Jane says, before my husband and I got married, he ran out of gas in the laneway of my mother's house. Well, I mean, there's worse places like what one Celine shared with us. She said she ran out of gas in London on Commissioner's Road on a busy day.
Ooh.
Yeah, that could be a little bit dangerous. Ronald says he always fills up at 1/2. Yes, Ronald, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's where you got to go. Trying to think. Joe said never in the car, but hates when the lawnmower runs out, especially when you have just a little bit of lawn left to go. Well, that's a little bit harder because a lot of them don't have a gas gauge, especially the push mowers.
And then Jean-Paul shared his story, and he said, you're going to laugh. 30 years ago, I went to the scrapyard. Coming back home, I ran out of gas with my tractor. And then 2 years ago, I did the same thing. It was really embarrassing. History repeating itself. And then Jess saying, years ago, very young with my now husband, but then boyfriend, decided in the middle of nowhere to stop at a stop sign and do a brake torque. And then, boom, we ran out of gas. The gauge didn't work, though. He's obviously had an older car. Had to call my parents to bring us out some gas.
Oh, what a date.
The people that are pushing it to the edge this way, I think it's the same people that let their phones get to 2%. Again, our middle daughter will do that. We'll be on video. She'll, I got to let you go. My phone's flashing. I'm at 1%. 1%? I get anxiety if it's less than 50.
Yeah. Oh, my friend Michelle just texted. She said she ran out of gas at the Furnival Rodney turnoff one year. She said the gas gauge was broken, but she didn't know it. So she had to walk a few kilometers, finally found someone home, and she said they took her to get gas. Fast forward 2 years later, she's at a wedding, and she meets the couple that helped her go and get gas.
Oh, wow.
They laughed about it. They thought it was hilarious because they were like, you look so familiar.
I'm the girl that ran out of gas. And Stephen just texted us, when I worked for a farm near my house, I would avoid going to Chatham. And one day I left the farm near Mitchell's Bay with 0 kilometers to empty and made it to the superstore.
Oh, wow.
That is pushing it to the limits. Again, there's, when it's cold, you don't really want to do that. First of all, because it can create, issues. But if you let it get down to, nothing, it can really affect your fuel pump. And then because the bottom of your tank, you've got filters and whatnot, but you can end up getting some dirt and stuff.
Yeah, and your vehicle might stall out as a result. And your fuel injector could get clogged up. So
it creates a whole lot of other issues.
So you and I are definitely both camp gets below half. I'm usually about a quarter of a tank, and then I'll go fill it up.
Yeah, I
filled it the other day, and I was just below half because I was like, oh, well, gas is, I'm like, who knows? It'll go back up. The storm was coming. I'll go top it up.
Exactly. And meanwhile, my daughter's driving around with less than 10K. The push to make a 4-day work week the standard really has picked up steam in the last few years. World's largest 4-day work week pilot program has just wrapped up. It took place over 6 months in the UK, but it involved researchers from around the world. 61 companies took part, nearly 3,000 employees.
Now, the companies got to choose how they would structure it. They could either, give them 1 day a week off, reduce their working days over the course of a year to average out to 32 hours a week. So it wasn't all just 40 hours crammed into 4 days. The only requirement was that they could not cut salaries or benefits. The workers would get 100% of their pay, and in exchange, they would deliver 100% of their normal work.
And the results are in.
And it was a resounding success for both employees and employers. And it wasn't just about less working hours for the same money. 15% of employees who participated said no amount of money could convince them to go back to working 5 days a week. They love it. But the workers had a lot of other benefits: better sleep, lower stress levels, improved personal lives and mental health. So able to spend more time with their friends and family.
Companies reported that their revenue stayed broadly the same during the trial, but went up 35% on average when compared with a similar period from previous years. They also dealt with less turnover, fewer sick days, less burnout, and were happy with their employees' performances.
Which is fantastic. So of the 61 companies that participated, 56 of them, or 92%, are going to continue on, even though the trial is over. 18% of them said they've already made the 4-day shift permanent. So there's only 5 companies that are like, A couple of them say they're going to continue the experiment. They want to see how it goes past 6 months. And only 3 of them say they're done with it and will return to the 5 days.
It's an interesting schedule. I worked it once before in a job where I was out of radio, and I loved it. We worked 4 10-hour shifts, and then you get 3 days off. 4 10-hour shifts, 3 days off.
So your weekend kind of shifted around then?
It would move because of where I was working, so it would, move around a bit. Mm-hmm. But I loved it because my mindset was, well, I'm already at work. What's an extra 2 hours? And then I get a full day off. Because you get that first day. It doesn't feel this way whether, whatever shifting you're working, you work the 5 days. That first day is almost like a good chunk of it. But you try and cram a bunch of stuff in on your quote-unquote Saturday.
Yeah. That's the one thing I hate about having just 2 days off on the weekend is, I'm the only person in my household. So all the cooking and cleaning, all that sort of stuff, errands, a lot of it gets shoved onto my only 2 days off.
Mm-hmm. Now, this makes a huge difference, as clearly this study shows. And I know there's certain countries in the world that are moving towards this. I think Iceland being one of them. Mm-hmm. There's some countries in Europe that are already pushing towards a 4-day work week.
Do you think our listeners would appreciate if we only come in 4 days a week?
Oh, it depends on how you structure it, right? It's a way to work anything, but I really think this is going to get more and more popular in the years to come.
Sorry, guys, Mondays are now pre-recorded. We'll put some AI in or something, right?
It'll be Mike's Day. We'll figure that all out. But, it's an interesting concept, and clearly the results are in, and it's been successful.
You've been listening to Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.